Welcome to the Kolbecast, episode 244. Thank you for joining us. Today, Bonnie and I are joined by three Kolbe students, Bella, Jeremiah, and Gianna. Being Kolbe students is not the only thing that these three have in common. They also share in the experience of having attended a Newman Guide summer program. Join us as we get to know these students and hear about their experiences at the Newman Guide schools. We hope that you'll enjoy the show.
Hi there, I'm Bonnie, Kolbe homeschooling mom of 4 lads and lasses, liturgical musician, popcorn, and podcast fanatic.
And this is Stephen, homeschooling father of 5 and chief homeschooling officer for Kolbe Academy.
Stephen, how's your day going?
Going very well. I'm excited for some summer Newman Guide college visits today in January, which is a nice break here.
Exactly. It's January when we're recording this, so we might as well talk about summertime. We are very happy to have some students joining us here on the Kolbecast. Bella and Jeremiah and Gianna, welcome y'all to the Kolbecast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So each of these students we've invited to come visit with us because they have been to a summer program offered by a Newman Guide school. We talk about the Newman Guide quite often here on the Kolbecast. We've had the founder of the Cardinal Newman Society, Patrick Reilly, come visit with us a couple of times, several conversations with various folks affiliated with the Newman Guide schools. Several of them offer some really interesting summer programs, and that's what we're interested in hearing about today. If folks are not already thinking about summertime, it's probably about time to do that because it'll be here quite quickly and registration starts earlier than it would seem it needed to. So there's all that as by way of setup. So let's get to know these students a little bit. Bella, I'm going to start with you. Tell me about yourself and your Kolbe connection. By that, I mean like how you make use of Kolbe's offerings, so forth, and what your interests are outside of school.
Yeah, so I'm a sophomore this year. It's my 3rd year at Kolbe, and I live outside of Chicago. I'm actually moving to Florida soon, and I really love Kolbe, honestly. It's after 3 years of doing it, it's nice I've gotten into a good routine. So I'm doing 7 classes this year, 1 async, and then the rest live online. So it's nice to be able to see the different ways that Kolbe functions, the different classes that they have. And so for my schedules, I'm not very good at having a very long routine that stays for a while. So I kind of switches up depending on my work schedule and what I'm doing outside of school.
Wow. Okay. So have you always done mostly the online or async courses since you came to Kolbe?
Yeah. So this is actually my first year doing an async course or a homeschooled course. I usually just do online.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned work. And so what else are you into outside of school?
Yeah, so I work a lot. Actually, I work at a flower shop near me.
Oh, neat.
I love also sports, cooking, traveling a ton. I love that. I love singing and any music really. So just hanging out with friends a lot too.
Very fun. Okay, that all sounds really interesting. The flower shop sounds so neat. How do you find you like to organize your school kind of workload through the week? How your schedule kind of falls school-wise?
Yeah, so I like to have my classes earlier in the morning, I found, so I can get them over and then do homework. So I have classes Monday through Thursday, and they end about noon for me. And then I'll do all my homework afterwards. And then once I'm done with homework for that day, I'll see what I have for the next day and week and just write it out, see what I need to do and prioritize for that week. And so that's kind of how I keep up to date on all my schoolwork.
Okay. Jeremiah, tell us about you and how your Kolbe connection and what you're into when you're not busy with school.
Right. So I'm a senior here at Kolbe. It is my 4th year. I joined as a freshman in 2021 after hearing about it from some friends who live nearby. So I only have a few classes, and I thought just as my senior year, I wanted to have a little bit more of a laid back year, and I'm only taking pre-calculus, health, and world religions and homeroom. That's like, really, really no homework and all that stuff. So looking back on that, it's kind of interesting because it's almost like sometimes it's too easy. And sometimes I could have thought, oh, maybe I should have retaken this class to up my GPA or whatnot. But I think overall, this year and my time at Kolbe, it's really been a blessing. And just the community is great. And I've benefited from so many friendships at Kolbe. So I would say I would recommend Kolbe to anyone who could afford it and anyone who is looking for a good education. As far as outside of school, I don't play any sports. Um, I'm I'm thinking about learning some instruments, so we'll see about that. I think that would be pretty useful in the future in college, all that stuff. But my biggest hobby is really goats. So anyone who knows me knows that I have 9 goats. So I only live on an acre with my family, but we have 9 goats, and so milk them daily, feed them daily, drink milk. We make cheese, we make yogurt. Occasionally, we make ice cream and all that stuff. So sometimes my life revolves around the goats because we have to be always taking care of them. In the summer, we go to local county fairs and all that stuff. So it's a great extracurricular besides sports.
So interesting. So what does your school load, like the time you spend on school with your current schedule, what's that look like?
Yeah, so it can depend on how, like I said, like what I'm doing with the goats. I'll get up earlier if I have to take care of the goats. And I try to start my day with some morning prayers, maybe about a half hour, maybe some breakfast. And then I sit down, see what I have planned for the day. I love using a planner. I know some people don't, but love using my planner, take that out, figure out what I need to do for the day, what I'll need to do long term, maybe throughout the week, throughout the month, and things I can work on little by little. I'll look at the classes I'll have or the homework I'll have. I don't really have a preference on when my classes are. I'll find that really any time is fine for me. As far as homework, personally, I think that I'm more productive during the night. My parents do tend to disagree on that a little bit, but teach his own, I guess. I would say as far as I like how I schedule my time, but naturally, sometimes I waste it sometimes. So that's always, a work in progress.
The animals certainly create anchor points. We don't
They
have
do.
goats, but we do have chickens and turkeys and guinea fowl and cats and dogs and a squirrel. And so every morning it's let all the animals out,
With the
get
dawn and
everything
dusk, yeah.
Hmm.
every evening. Fortunately, my wife does most of it, but still, even every morning, when mornings are my job, but you can't skip that. So it's
Yeah.
that sets the anchor point for the schedule.
Yeah, I would say it definitely teaches responsibility a lot too. So that's really important.
Has that been a long time thing for your family?
Yeah, so I believe our oldest goat is 8 or 9 years old.
Okay.
So since maybe 2014, 2015, we've been taking care of goats and we got into that through 4-H, which is, I
Mhm.
could talk about that for a while, and that's really just a great experience. So yeah, it's something I've basically grown up with. Some people grow up with sports, but I found it's really nice.
Good deal. Gianna, what about you? Tell us about yourself and how you make use of Kolbe's offerings and your interests outside of school and all that sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm a senior in high school, so this is my last year. I have been doing Kolbe since 8th grade, kind of like right after the pandemic hit, which is probably the case for a lot of people. I do a lot of extracurriculars. I play volleyball and soccer. I was president of my 4-H club for a while. That was fun, and I still do 4-H. I raise animals for 4-H, and we take them to the fair in August. So it's kind of hard, like traveling during the summer while you're trying to raise animals and then bringing them to the fair. But that's always really fun. And yeah, I really, really love Kolbe. Yeah.
Wonderful. What does your mix of, do you do mostly online, traditional homeschool? Do you do async? What's your mix of formats?
I am fully and completely online.
Okay. Do you tend to have multiple classes each day or do you kind of stack them some days and then have fewer on other days? Kind of what's that look like for you and how do you tend to like to approach the work that you do outside of class?
So it changes like every year, I guess. But this year, I have class every day, obviously, except for Fridays. And it's about even. I have only one class on Monday. So usually that's the day that I get the most work done. It's at the beginning of the week. So I know like all my homework's already outlined for the week. So I can get a lot done that day. And then Wednesdays, that's also true. I only have 2 classes on Wednesday. So Wednesdays and Mondays are usually when I get the most work done.
Would you say you kind of built up to looking at it that way? Like that you've kind of come to a place now where you only have 2 classes as opposed to, I have 2 classes today.
Yeah, kind of. Because last year, my junior year, on Wednesdays, I think I had 5 classes. It might have been 4. It was a lot. I was in class from like 7 until like 1 o'clock. So it was a lot. Yeah.
That is a lot. But so you're playing multiple sports and you raise animals for 4-H. How do you tell us about your animals, or do you want to tell us more about your various interests outside of class?
Yeah. So every year since I started 4-H in 9th grade, I've raised a lamb, and it's kind of funny. Each year I've asked some of my classmates to help me name my animal, because it's just kind of something I'm not very creative in that way. So asking my classmates is just a funny thing to do. And every year it gets funnier. I think my first year I named my lamb Crescent. My second year was its name was Marty, which was something my theology classmates came up with. And then last year it was Marty Jr. And I haven't gotten my animal this year yet, so we'll have to see what it becomes. But yeah, last year I also raised a goat. She was so pretty. She had this little dark patch of brown over one of her eyes, and then this slightly darker line of brown around the eye. It was so pretty. And this year I am going to be raising a pig and a lamb, so that will be very interesting. I've never raised a pig before, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay,
yeah.
Very cool. There for a while here we live in a suburb, if you will, and there for a while our city utility bill would come with what still comes with this flyer, telling us about city stuff. They had purchased some goats to help maintain the vegetation around the city lake. And they would give us a report on the goats every month. And that was about the only part I was interested in reading from that. And so it's been a while since they gave us a report on the goats. I'm I'm not interested in any of this. All right, Bella, what are some of your standout memories of homeschooling? It could be happy, cautionary, a mix of both, something else.
Oh, there's so many over the years. I guess it's not really from class, but my favorite Kolbe memory was probably when I went to the March for Life with them last year. And that was just incredible to be able to meet all these kids who I had been chatting with and been in classes with, and just seeing them in person. And Mrs. Powers was there. She's amazing. All the teachers who went. So that was really, really fun. And because of Kolbe, I've met so many kids, and I've been able to go and meet up with them a lot, actually. And it's really amazing. And one of my favorite classes was probably my Algebra 1 class with Mrs. Pishke. I just love that so much. She's such a good teacher. So out of all my classes, that was probably my favorite.
But I've got to visit with her. It's been a while ago on the Kolbecast. I think it was in the early episode. The episode is number 60 or 61, somewhere in there. I'll look it up for the show notes. But she came and talked to us about middle school. So yes, I very much enjoyed visiting with her. Can see why you enjoyed class with her. And I'm still stuck on your flower shop job because I think that is so, so neat. What sorts of stuff do you do at your job?
Yeah, so I just started working there this year, and one of my friends' moms owns it. So I just help with arrangements, customer service on the phone, checking people out. We have a wedding venue there, so we'll have weddings and funerals come in. So it's just a lot of arranging flowers and just figuring out what people want. And so it's pretty busy around February because of Valentine's Day. So I'm going to be working there a lot more pretty soon.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Yes.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeremiah?
I would say, as far as Kolbe, I have a few. I would say rhetoric class in 11th grade with Miss Mahaliak. I would highly recommend that to anyone who likes to talk. That was great. English 10 with Mrs. Kim. That was also amazing. Learn about logic. She also made it fun, because I remember this group project where it was prove this point. It doesn't even have to make sense, but you just have to prove it using logic. And we were like, let's prove the earth is flat. So we were like, oh, pancakes are from Earth and pancakes are flat, therefore the earth is flat. So that was a really fun group project. That's probably one of some of my greatest memories. I would also say, just as a freshman, freshman homeroom, all my great freshman classes, just being able to see people grow with me, and having classes with those same people for 4 years, that's just really amazing. And outside of school even, I've only had basically one Kolbe Connect with my best friend Luke. That was amazing. Last summer I went out to visit him a whole week. So that was just amazing. And I mean, I wouldn't have had that friendship without Kolbe. So
Very cool. Okay, Gianna, your turn. Things that stand out in your mind about your school experience.
Well, I really love that I can travel while I'm homeschooling. Like last year, right before Thanksgiving, I went to visit UD for their Odyssey Day. And then after that, I flew back with my cousin, Colin, and I stayed at his house for a week. And then we drove to Thanksgiving together and went and visited Benedictine College. So I just love that I can do things like that and not have to worry about missing school or like late work assignments. I can still there was one point, I think we were traveling in the middle of the year and I did class on an airplane. It was kind of glitchy, but it was really cool that I could actually do that. Cause how many people can say that they can do class on an airplane? So yeah.
Yeah, really. Okay, turn into the topic of the day. Your experiences with the Newman Guide summer programs. Bella, where did you go and when was that? And tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I went to BCYC, which is a 6-day summer camp hosted by Benedictine College for all high schoolers. And it was really, really amazing. I heard about it from one of my good Kolbe friends, Eliza, and I was actually able to go with some of my Kolbe friends, Mary Grace and Aiden and Elias and Grace. And so we all went together, and that was really, really cool to be able to meet up with Kolbe kids at a summer camp. And we didn't really plan it a lot of times. We were just like, oh, let's go. So yeah, BCYC is a 6-day summer camp in Kansas. And so it's trying to immerse you in the college that you know what you're getting into when you go to college. So each kid gets to choose a track to study when you're at the camp. And so every day you would have classes with the professor who taught that subject in the college. So there was engineering, criminology, nursing. I personally did the voice track just for fun since I love singing. So that was really, really great. So at the camp also, we had daily mass, adoration, competitive games, and it was just a really great group of kids who went just getting to meet Catholic kids from all across the country and getting to see Benedictine, what it's like. So that was really great.
That sounds fun. So how did you come to hear about it? And did you start planning, like we're recording this in January now, and that's middle of the summertime. Is this about the time we were starting to kind of work toward getting ready to go or?
Yeah, so I heard about it from my friend Eliza actually, and she told me about it, I think in November of the year before. She was like, I'm looking at this camp, you should come do it with me. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm pretty busy this summer already. And then it was about this time, maybe February, that I was like, wait, I really want to go to this camp. So that's when I signed up and made it a reality, and that was really awesome.
Okay, was that your first trip away from home for that duration of time?
So for that duration of time, yes, but I travel with my family all the time, and I've traveled by myself a lot too. So I'm pretty well versed in traveling, so it wasn't stressful or anything.
Okay, cool. And what was the residential aspect of it like?
Yeah, so they had everyone staying in dorms at the college so that you got a feel of what it was like. So I was in a dorm room, and there's the dorms and then the group bathrooms like they have at Benedictine. So that was really nice, just being able to see like what it would be like if I were to go to that college. So it was cool.
Okay, good deal. Benedictine has several different summer offerings. Did you see others happening at the same time, or is that pretty much all that was? It sounds like a lot going on, so I don't mean to minimize it by saying that was all that was going on. But I was like, is that their main thing happening when you were there, or did they have several different things happening?
Yes, so they have 3 different camps for high schoolers. So I went to BCYC Immersion, which is the biggest one about the college, but then they also have a leadership program and then more of a Eucharistic one. While I was there, immersion was the only one going on. There's also an adult camp going on, actually, like a conference there that was happening at the same time. But they have all the different camps and different weeks all throughout the summer. So it's run by the college kids. So the college kids volunteer to just spend their entire summer taking care of all the kids who come through every week.
Okay. What was your kind of prep and packing and travel process like?
Yeah, so it was pretty simple. They gave us a list of what to bring and what to expect. So that was pretty simple. I just, grabbed a suitcase. It
Yeah.
wasn't anything crazy. It was just like regular hiking clothes and things. But they sent out a lot of information, which was very helpful. And then for travel, it was super simple. My parents dropped me off at the airport. And then once I got to Kansas City, which is the airport I flew into, they had a shuttle taking kids to the college. So I actually didn't go in the shuttle. I had a friend's mom pick me up from the airport and I drove with her. So, I mean, if you're close to the college, you could just drive, but I chose to fly since it was pretty far for me.
Sure. That's enough of a trip. Yeah. Okay. What do you think about going back? Does it kind of give you a sense of what it would be like to go to school there, or are you interested in other stuff they offer there in the summertime while you're still in high school?
Yeah, I was looking at going at it again this year. I don't think I'll go just because I want to try things new. I love new things. So
Yeah.
I think I'll do something different, but it was really, really awesome. And I would love to go back again and maybe try out a different one of their programs. So, and it was definitely a good experience getting to know what it would be like to be at the college.
Cool. Okay. Sounds like it was all very worthwhile and fun. So good deal. Good experience for you.
Mhm.
Jeremiah, tell us about your summer experience. Where did you go? And kind of all the same questions. How did you hear about it? And what did you do while you were there? That sort of thing.
So I went to Christendom College's summer camp. It is located in Front Royal, Virginia at their campus, and it's called the Best Week Ever. And so it is about 6 days, the best week ever. So there was classes, there was 4 classes a day. We had stuff like they basically, you know, made it exactly as their regular school time schedule. So they had stuff like mass at noon and they would have, a lunch break and all that stuff. And then during the evening we would have other stuffs like intramurals, or we would have like a dance, which was really fun, or we had a debate club one night, which was actually like really fun. The campus is a few miles, like less than that from the Shenandoah River. We like went swimming in it one night and it was just a great experience. As far as residential stuff, the boys were all in the freshman dorm, and I think the girls were in 2 different dorms. And one story with that was, I think it was Tuesday night, one of the guys actually pulled the fire alarm. So the boys got to evacuate the dorm at like midnight, which was a really interesting experience. But as far as packing and planning all that stuff, I'm in Connecticut, which is about 8 hours. So we started driving at I think it was like 5 a.m. And one downside of that is you can forget things to pack. And so I forgot all my dress clothes. So it was Father's Day and we drove down 8 hours and we got to the campus and I was in my dorm and then I called my dad and I said, I forgot all my dress clothes. So we had to go to the nearest Walmart and we got some dress clothes and like it was fine. So, just a cautionary tale for anyone who like is leaving early, just make sure you have everything for sure. As far as like I'm not really opposed to traveling, but that's just a big cautionary thing.
Okay. Have you done a lot of traveling other than that? It's probably difficult with the goats.
Yeah, my dad likes to say the fairs are our vacations. So we don't really have like vacationing to other countries, but the local fairs and even a fair in Massachusetts, the Big E, a big regional fair. That's really our vacations through the summer. We, as a family, we've gone to Maine a few times before we had the goats. Besides that, I've been to Atlanta. I actually went to the graduation last year for Kolbe. I've been to Georgia. I've been to the March for Life 2 years ago. I've been to Texas. I went to Texas the other weekend. And I've been to Arizona. So a little bit of traveling in my time, but the goats make it a little hard sometimes.
Sure.
So
So then how did you kind of hear about that program and decide, yeah, this is something I really want to do?
yeah, so I heard about it from a classmate who is a grade lower than me, and her brother was actually a camp counselor at the camp. So I heard about it from her, and I actually got this early bird discount. And so I heard about it and I considered it. And there were actually some other Kolbe students that went to a different session. There's a few sessions. There's like 4 or 5 sessions, I think. And so I was trying to plan and figure out to go with a session with other people, but that didn't work out because plans and all that stuff. But yeah, it was really interesting to hear about, and I decided to go, which I'm glad I did.
Did it convince you to go there? Are you planning on Christendom or not sure yet?
So luckily, I got accepted to Christendom. I also got accepted to UMary in North Dakota.
Nice.
So two really good Newman Guide, two great Catholic colleges. So right now it's just a choice between the two basically. It's always a big decision. It has to do with financials, distance because North Dakota is a lot farther. There's also, variables like North Dakota or UMary does have a psychology program, which is what I'm interested in. Christendom doesn't. So it's a lot of, back and forth. It's a lot of, I've been thinking about it for a few months, but we'll see where we go. So
You got two good options there. I was thinking back through our Kolbecast library. We've visited with Dr. Cuddeback from Christendom and Monsignor Shea from UMary. So psychology, how did that come to, what about that appeals to you?
yeah, so I wouldn't say I'm like big on the sciences, but I guess psychology is a science. And what I mean by that is like I don't really like science class, but I'm really interested in stuff like why we do things, like our motives. I find that people's motives for doing certain things, good or bad, it's just really fascinating to me. And you can really see like why people do things or why they don't do things because of like previous experiences that have formed them or something they heard or just really interesting experiences that they went through. And I think really at heart, uh, it's really just a desire to help other people because I'm ideally, a field in psychology would lead to something like counseling or therapy. So I'm just really like I want to help other people with their problems and be a listening ear. And I think like that's in my mind, I want ad majorem Dei gloriam or whatever for the greater glory of God, right? So like that's how I want to live my life. And I think whichever way I can live my life to glorify God, I'm just trying to figure that out right now. But I feel like a great way that I could possibly do it is really to be, a listening ear or a helping hand in any way, just bringing that peace of God to other people, through my work.
That's wonderful. Very much needed. Okay, Gianna, tell me about the summer program that you did and how you discovered it. What about it was attractive to you?
Yeah, so funny. I was just talking about this how I stayed over Thanksgiving with my cousin. We drove up to Benedictine that weekend because we had been looking at, it's a Newman Guide school. So we drove up there right before Thanksgiving and went to go visit the college, and that's when I learned about BCYC, which is the program that I did. Yeah, so we have family in St. Louis, so it's about a 4-hour drive from St. Louis to Kansas to Atchison, where Benedictine is. So it was just a quick little visit that we did right before Thanksgiving, and it was really fun.
Okay. That one has several different programs, different topics you can choose from. So which one did you choose?
I chose nursing because that's something that I'm looking at, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So what did that look like then for the week? You had nursing classes and how did it, if at all, did it overlap with some of your Kolbe studies?
So they made it super fun. I think the nursing track is honestly the best track because we got like extra t-shirts and stuff like this. So it was really fun.
Nice.
We did a lot of like basic first aid type stuff. Like we learned how to like give chest compressions, and we learned how to administer a shot, like a vaccine or something. Uh, and then we also learned about like basic how to take blood pressure and how to measure heartbeats and just like basic vital sign stuff. And then we kind of talked about like the importance of the vocation of nursing, which I think is like the biggest connection to Kolbe that I have from that, is just knowing that nursing is a calling and it's not necessarily for everyone, but that it's very like, it can be very draining and you just have to lift that up to God. And I think that's probably like the biggest overlap, is just talking about how this job can glorify God.
I would think it would serve you well to have that sort of foundation and that formation going into a very intense job like that, and where you're really tending to people in their very vulnerable times and when they're in great need and not at their best, really, to give much good back to you in some circumstances, I would think. Okay.
Yeah.
So has that been an interest of yours for a while?
Yes. I can't remember like for how long, but I have, I think 3, one of them just graduated, 3 nursing relatives who are in the nursing profession. And then I also have an aunt who's a pharmacist and an uncle who's a physical therapist. So medicine is very much in our family, and it's always something that I've kind of wanted to do. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when it was time to travel to the week in Atchison, what was that like for you? I mean, you lived nowhere near there. So how'd that go for you, getting ready, like packing up and heading that way and all that whole travel piece of it?
So my family kind of decided to make like a whole trip out of it. So we all drove from California down to St. Louis. So while I was at the summer camp, my family stayed with our other family who live in St. Louis, like I was mentioning.
Okay.
And my cousin drove us up to Benedictine. So I had to pack essentially for about 3 weeks worth of clothes, because it takes us roughly 1.5 weeks to get there. And then I was staying there for a week and then going up to the camp, and then we had to, travel back. So I had a very extensive list of what I had to pack, and it did not just include the list that they gave us. So it was really stressful trying to figure out like what I needed for camping along the way, and then what I actually needed for the camp itself.
Oh yeah, that's next level organization.
Yeah.
My goodness. So you and Bella attended the same BCYC week, but they offer multiple weeks. Were you guys there at the same time?
No, I think I was there a week or 2 before her. Yeah, I know a lot of Kolbe people went to the second week, and I think I was the only Kolbe person at the first week.
All right, that was going to be my next question. So you stayed in the dorm there, right? And what was that like for you? Had you done anything like that before? And what did you think of that whole piece of it?
So I had stayed in a dorm only overnight once before at University of Dallas for the trip, for like a visit. So I wasn't like super used to the idea of like living in a dorm, which is more similar to what we were doing. So it was interesting because we had to figure out, like who was going to use the shower first, and we got back to our dorms at 10 o'clock at night every night, and everyone just wants to go to bed. So it's kind of hard figuring out how to juggle, shower times and all that. So it was really interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little curious about the experience because you've made college visits to multiple colleges, you've said. So I know the experience is going to be different, but did the summer visit was that much more revealing about the college, or how was that different than just like a college visit for you as far as learning about the college?
Yeah, I do think it was different because, when you do a visit day, you're just kind of there for the day. And I didn't stay in the dorms before this camp at Benedictine. So that was my first time staying in the dorms. And we actually stayed in the junior dorms. The freshman girl dorms went to the boys because apparently the guy freshman dorms are just really gross. So they couldn't house them over the summer for that. But it was really cool because I was like, okay, I definitely know, like, I was like kind of like taking notes on what I need to bring to college when I actually, stay there in the dorms for a longer period of time. Like I need a mattress topper because those mattresses that they give you are really uncomfortable, just stuff like that. So, and the dorms were super bare. So I know I need a lot of decoration to make it feel more homey, and yeah, just all that.
funny about the boys and girls dorms when I know you visited, you Mary, and I'd taken my kids up there as well, but we went and visited the boys dorm, like where a lot of the freshmen would be. It was like this dark cave with all blocks. And then they took us into the newly built women's dorm, which was beautiful and has a chapel with, with the Eucharist with right
Yeah.
there. And it's like, oh, this is like heaven here, and the other place isn't quite so much like heaven. It's very funny.
Yeah.
They needed some more time over the summer to get those boys' dorms ready for the next school year.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, since you're a senior graduating, moving on, what are you looking forward to after Kolbe?
Well, I kind of already mentioned it. I definitely want to become a nurse. So I haven't decided on a school yet, but the Benedictine is definitely a top contender. So definitely going to a Newman Guide college. I think right now it's kind of between you, Mary, and Benedictine for me. So yeah.
Two cold places where you're coming from. Okay,
But
I
good
admire you for
choices.
that. Yes, for sure. With a program like nursing, what do you see is the benefit of undertaking a program like that at a Newman Guide school as opposed to one where, I mean, like a secular school or some other place?
Oh, I've actually thought about this a lot because all three of my relatives who are nurses, they didn't go to a Newman Guide school. They went to private schools, but they were definitely not like Christian or Catholic or anything like that. And I think the biggest thing for me is learning how to become a nurse in a pro-life environment because just I don't know if my relatives had to do this, but like when you're doing clinicals, you have to learn how to do all types of things, right? And I don't think that I could sit in on an abortion as part of my like learning experience to become a nurse. So I think that's like the biggest thing for me. And then also just learning how to care for people in a way that is fulfilling my faith as well. And I think that's something that both you, Mary, and Benedictine can do well for me.
Definitely needed to that formation to serve in that capacity, for sure. Given your Kolbe studies and the things you have read through your Kolbe courses and the things you work on at Kolbe, what kind of overlap did you notice with your summer experiences, the classes you attended at your summer programs, and kind of what kind of connections have you drawn or anything along those lines since going to your summer program and then kind of lining that up with your time at Kolbe?
One interesting thing was that obviously there was no homework or stuff like that, where it was like really challenging, but it was really interesting to see new perspectives that I didn't see at Kolbe. And it was also kind of similar to Kolbe in that, church teaching and our faith, it was completely integrated in the courses like history, I mean, stuff like theology or literature, that kind of stuff, or even philosophy. It's pretty easy to integrate that stuff, but even history, you got to look at it like, oh wow, like these people did these things for our church. And it's like, how can we do those things nowadays? And how can we learn from them? So it was pretty interesting in that like none of us had experienced a college classroom, but just the way the classroom was run and the teachers were all amazing and it left a really good impression on me, at least for Christendom's classes, even, without any like challenging aspects. It was really nice to see how they ran the classroom and how they taught all the material in various ways.
Okay. And yeah, having had the experience you've had at Kolbe, it was like none of it was like, I've never heard any of this before. There's probably
Yeah,
like,
I
no,
would
I think
say
this
it
is, yeah.
was, like I said, there wasn't much challenging, but I would say like academically, it seemed almost on par. It seemed pretty on level. Like there was stuff that I did know, and there was stuff that I learned from new perspectives that I thought was really interesting too.
Okay. Good deal. Bella, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so at Benedictine, the difference was you chose one topic and you just studied that for the entire week. So it's not like I had a history course and a math class or whatever throughout the entire week. So I did voice, so it was just singing lessons all day long
Yeah.
while I was there. But I think the theology kids would have found it very similar to Kolbe. But it was nice having done Kolbe and then gone to there because it was a college course. And so they did give us homework to practice before we went back to the class the next day. And so having Kolbe holding you to such high standards and being like, I know that you can do better than you think you can, really helped in the class, being like, I don't think I can sing this, but I know that I can because he's pushing me and he's helping me and I'm practicing. And by the end of the week, just like looking back and seeing how I had grown in my abilities before the beginning was really nice.
Beautiful.
It was interesting to hear about the different experiences because we've had Wyoming Catholic on talking about their summer hike sort of thing, which sounds pretty fun. And my son went to Thomas Aquinas College's East Coast campus summer program a couple of summers ago, so I kind of knew what that was like. But it's interesting to hear just how it's a little different at every college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'll include the link to that episode in our show notes. That was one of the summer programs that I was hoping to bring into the conversation about. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah. Sure sounds like lots of great opportunities out there. What recommendations would you guys have for your fellow students or their families? Any sorts of suggestions you have?
I would say, first of all, as important as stuff like packing is, really keep an open mind about it because going into best week ever, I was really like, oh, I just want to take a gap year after high school. And that was I'd considered college a little bit, but I didn't really like consider it fully. And I kind of just swept it to the wayside. I was like, oh, I just want to take a year to kind of do whatever, like maybe, earn some money for future college or travel a little bit and just figure out what I want to do. But I'd realized that if I do go to the right college, with the help of everything they have there, I can still make a little bit of money during the summer. I can still figure out what I want to do in those 4 years, just all, without taking that year off. And one of the biggest things for me is like time, because I'm going to graduate high school at 17, which means I would graduate college at 21 without a gap year. If I took a gap year, I'd graduate college at 22. So in my opinion, that's like a whole year, being a whole year ahead. That's pretty big for me, in my opinion. But, as a whole, just keep an open mind to stuff and don't close your options off going into that kind of stuff.
Okay. Wise words. What do you think, Bella?
I think that if one of their kids wants to go to the camp and I don't know, finances are difficult or something, they have scholarships. Like they will make it work for you if you reach out and you're like, "Hey, I want to go to this, but I don't know if my kid's ready. I don't know how to make it work." I was talking to a kid who went to BCYC and he was like, "I signed up for financial aid. I got the camp completely free. I just had to pay for my plane tickets." So they want kids to come. They want kids to experience their college. They want the kids to experience the Eucharist during like Mass and adoration. And so they're willing to do anything to make it work. So they make the process so smooth for you. And it really prepares you for college because having that week, I was like, all right, I could graduate a year early and go to college. I think I could do it. And it might be hard, but it would be really worth it.
And even if you don't get the scholarship, usually if you go through the effort of applying for the scholarship, they will give you some sort of discount. I think I had 2 different discount codes for Benedictine, and it was totally worth it. And if you're thinking about going, you should definitely go. And it'll be so good for, deciding colleges and all of that.
That's a good point to think about with the those college programs, because at least I know when I've talked to a couple of like admissions offices, they utilize those to really tell the students about the program, but it also gives them a chance to meet you and see the different students. So I know with some of those smaller schools, at least, that can make a significant difference one way or another if you go in and people are, I mean, you're having a great time, but they see what a great person, what a great student you are. Then when you go to sign up, it's like, we know who that person is. We want them here. So I guess maybe there's a subtle, don't be a knucklehead when you go to camp sort of advice. there
Yeah.
as well, because they'll remember that too. But have fun, but don't be pulling fire alarms in the middle of the night is probably good advice.
Yeah, that is true.
And one of the things that happens at some of the schools, at least, is now you've met people. So, like my son went to Thomas Aquinas College's summer program a couple of years ago, and now, when he's a freshman there, it's like, oh, that person, that person, that person were all at his summer program. So he's kind of got a head start in knowing people and making friends to some extent.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if that holds true, whether I go to UMary or Benedictine, because I did make some really good friends there, and my roommate was just so sweet. And I often think about maybe asking her to be my roommate if we end up going to Benedictine together again, because she was awesome.
Well, that's a great way to find a roommate. Yes, you guys know you've been through that week together already and have a good sense of what you're getting into when you go for school. What else have we not talked about that you would like to share with us, or any final thoughts or takeaways from your experience at the summer program?
I haven't been to a secular college, but I would say hearing about the differences between a secular college and a Newman Guide college, it's really like black and white. Basically, like I was saying, we did have daily mass and daily adoration, and we even had stuff like in the guys' dorm, they would have liturgy of the hours, I think, like every morning, and we would say a daily rosary if we didn't have adoration or something like that. And it was really just the joy of, the priests and everyone who was there. It was really amazing to see how not only was the faith taught, but it was lived. And I think that's just that even more solidified me thinking, oh, I should definitely go to at least, a Newman Guide school as opposed to, maybe just a local secular school.
Okay.
Yeah, like Jeremiah was saying, I live near a college town of a secular school, and whenever we're there, you see the college kids walking around and they just seem sad. But while I was at the camp, all the college students who were helping out were just so joyful. Like they chose to be there because they want to bring kids to show them how amazing it is when you go to a Catholic college and you experience Christ. And being there, that was the highlight of my summer. It was such an incredible experience to be able to see how they were living out their faith and how they wanted to bring others to show them.
That's neat. I know you have a couple years left at Kolbe, Bella. Do you have an idea of kind of what you might like to do after that time that you would want to speak about and now? And it's okay if not.
Yeah, so because I'm moving to Florida, I'll probably end up going to Ave Maria because it's really close to home. I'm actually going to be living in Ave town.
Oh, cool.
And so that's probably my plan right now is to go there, and I'm thinking of doing accounting or finance, something like that. I wasn't thinking about it until recently, but my mom told me that I should look into it because she was like, Bella, I've never seen somebody so happy talking about compound interest on a car. She was like, you need to look into this.
Okay, and we need folks who are well formed in handling money. That's super important. We had a conversation with the Texeras of Walletwin. That episode was a while back too. Jonathan and Amanda Texera. They have a Catholic business called Walletwin. That was a very interesting financial literacy conversation that I got a lot out of, and thought that they came to mind when you mentioned that track. That's great. A recent episode of the Kolbecast features a couple of students who are headed to Ave this year after graduation. So you'll see some familiar faces there if you end up there then. Yeah. What are you looking forward to this summer?
So this summer my family's taking a trip to Rome actually for the Jubilee year. So I'm really pumped about that, to be able to go through all the holy doors and see the holy sites. So that's probably the highlight of my summer this year, and I can't wait.
Oh no, I was just saying you'll also have a highlight coming up, move to Ave, of seeing a lot of alligators, which is fun.
Yes,
There's that
gotta
too.
learn how to defend myself.
In the show notes for this episode, we'll have several links. We've had several episodes come up already in our conversation, but among them, I will include the links to the 2 conversations we've had with Patrick Reilly from the Cardinal Newman Society, who publishes the Newman Guide that we keep referring to. We've had several conversations with other Newman Guide schools. We'll list some of those. Stephen mentioned episode 233 with Wyoming Catholic College, and part of that time was spent talking about their summer programs, so we will include that. I'm also going to include a link to episode 185, which was about summer camp. So attending camp as a student, and actually a lot of college students and young adults staff that camp, among others. So that kind of is relevant to our conversation here too. So check our show notes for that. Bella, Jeremiah, and Gianna, it sure has been fun visiting with you and hearing about your experiences at these summer programs offered by the Newman Guide schools and all you have going on and what you're looking forward to. Know of our prayers for you as you move forward in your studies in whatever chapter that looks like. Please keep in touch. Let us know how you're doing. And thanks again for coming to visit with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for this experience.
Thank you.
Subscribe to the Kolbecast on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss an episode. And let us know how we're doing by leaving a rating or a review. And as always, feel free to email us at podcast@kolbe.org.
Mary, our Mother, pray for us. St. Maximilian Kolbe, St. Ignatius of Loyola, holy saints and angels, pray for us. Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam.